Our consultants travel not only across Kansas, but across the nation talking about their expertise. Renee happens to be our math expert, and she's had some adventures in Augusta that she'd like to share about.
Sure.
So, Renee, what makes your highlight reel of working with Augusta lately?
Well, I've been working with one particular school for 3 years, and they are becoming experts. Some of their teachers really quickly adopted some of the learning that I provided and have just gone great guns for the last 3 years, and it's really exciting to see in the classroom with kids. I first started out with 2 of their Title I schools 3 years ago, and I trained them in cognitively guided instruction. That is just basically a way to teach math that works with problem solving. And so kids are immersed in the concepts of early mathematics through problems that make sense to them. Some of those teachers, they always kind of look at me funny on day 1, like, our kids aren't going to be able to do this. But by day 2 and 3, a lot of those teachers start to come around and realize that they wish they'd learned math that way as well. Several of those teachers were early adopters. They're my people that said, okay, we trust you, Renee, we'll go back and try this. I've even had other schools go and visit them, and those schools walk away amazed at what kindergartners, first grade, third graders are able to do in the area of problem solving. And so that was where we started. Because I've spent 3 years with that group, I've also introduced them to Number Talks, which is just another part of the math process where kids have to work mentally. They don't get paper and pencil, and we ask them to do all kinds of computation in their head. And so then they're starting to use lots of strategies that, again, we didn't learn as children, but they learn lots of different ways to hold those numbers in their head and come up with the correct solutions. And so that was another thing that we introduced. Again, it's been exciting to watch teachers take that and start to experience it with kids, and it's amazing, again, what children are able to do mentally. And what I love about Number Talks is the fact that a lot of the time, if you think back to your school experience and even grade school, where the teacher said, well, you have to show all your steps. Well, there's a lot of things kids can do in their head without showing every single step. And so I think that's what's neat about math today, is that we acknowledge the fact that there's multiple ways to get to a correct answer. And some of them are every bit as efficient as the way you and I were taught to do it with those standard algorithms. It's just exciting for when teachers are willing to step off the beaten path of how we learn mathematics and give kids a better experience. And so those 2 things, along with the third piece of that, I went in and said, okay, now that we've got whole group math kind of under our belt, how do we address the needs of the individual student? And that meant we had to incorporate a small group math time. And in small group math, that means I'm pulling 3 to 5 kids to the table. Well, unfortunately, I have a few more children in the classroom than those 3 to 5 kids. Right. So I have to have something that's valuable for those kids to do as well. We incorporated the small group math concept with our stations concept. And so we've also got stations going in those classrooms. And again, when I took other teachers in to watch that, they were amazed that students were able to work on their own independently without the teacher monitoring their behaviors. I mean, obviously she's still in the room, the teacher's right. Still in the room, and has that teacher eye out for anything that might be going awry. But really, those kids are so focused and involved with the math and the engaging activities in those stations that the teacher really doesn't have to do too much towards their behavior, which allows that teacher to focus on those children that are right in front of them at the time. And so those 3 components have taken a while to get into those classrooms, but in those classrooms where the teacher has run with them, it's really exciting to watch, and it I think is providing their kids with a much better math education. The cool thing too is, and teachers tell me this all the time in those classrooms, my kids love math. And to me, that is the icing on the cake. When little kids are saying that math is their favorite part of the day, I'm going, woohoo, we're doing it right. So that's happening. The cool thing is the Augusta district had 2 elementaries that were title schools. So of course they had a little more money to spend, and that's allowed me to be there more often. But they had 2 other elementary schools that didn't have those same funding avenues. And so they've stepped up, and we have now trained those other 2 sets of teachers in CGI, and now I'm working with Number Talks with them. And last week I was in those 2 buildings and did observations and coaching in those classrooms for the first time. And those teachers are starting to run with the Number Talks, and that's exciting as well. And I will tell you, the one thing that I really, really appreciated in those 2 buildings last week was those teachers, because I don't have as much time with them, were willing to do what I would call coaching in the moment. So as the Number Talk was taking place, I was able to participate. I was able to step in and do some modeling. And so that's always fun too, when teachers are open to that kind of arrangement, when that's the best thing we can do is to coach in the moment. And so I was able to again do a little bit of training right there on the spot, which I think is always helpful. So that's kind of what I've got going in Augusta, and I'm kind of excited about it.
That's just one of our stories that we're sharing from our people in the field that are in our districts nearly every day. Although we work together, I don't get the honor of seeing Renee very often because she spends so much time in our schools. Stay tuned for more of our stories and more from Renee and other times she visits schools like Augusta, and she spends a lot of time in Liberal as well. So I'm sure we'll hear some stories from there again soon.